I'd like to move on and introduce our next speaker, who I know is well known to many of you. Sally Weintrobe is a fellow of the British Psychoanalytic Society, and her current writing, which she's going to speak to us about today, is on the culture of uncare that promotes disavowal of climate change. She's best known for her editing and her own contributions to the book Engaging with Climate Change, Psychoanalytic and Interdisciplinary Perspectives. Many of you will have, I think, probably found your first introduction to this whole area of the intersection of psychology and climate change at the excellent conference which she organised around this theme some years ago. And her talks can be found on her website at sallyweintrobe.com if you want to follow her up afterwards. Copies of the book, unfortunately we haven't managed to get any here for the bookstore. We have copies of that book are on the bookstore. So afterwards, if you want to know more about Sally, you can find out from there. So Sally, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Ro. The psychoanalyst Irma Brenman-Peck said, "Good leaders give a home to our caring, reparative parts." She meant good leaders are containing. They take in how we feel in an empathic way. They restrain us when our uncaring part gets out of hand. And they protect us from feeling too overwhelmed. Good leaders also contain us by working to keep us physically safe and to keep the physical environment stable so that we have food and shelter. This must be their top priority, as when our physical environment is unstable, we are more likely to feel psychologically unstable and overwhelmed. A simple example brought this home to me. Several years ago, I was in the desert with my husband. We were alone and without a sat phone, but we could reasonably expect a vehicle to turn up within about 3 days. We had food and water for a fortnight. Our vehicle, a 4x4, had 2 cabins. One day, the door to the back cabin that stored our food would not open. In the hours that followed, we realized there was no way to get in. We tried even to break the toughened glass window. We could have driven out of there, but we decided to stay and to manage until help arrived. At least we had water from the tank under the vehicle. We also had some dried peaches. I gave half to my husband, and then I divided my pile into 3, one for each day that we might have to wait. Then I ate all my peaches up in one go. I felt rather impulsive, greedy and ashamed, as though something had taken me over. Being alone in a desert heightens awareness of how dependent we are on the environment and how fragile life is. Nonetheless, in this situation, our physical survival was not threatened in any serious way. Even a small threat to physical survival was enough to tip me into a state that I believe was uncontained. I was in touch with further anxieties. What if I became more uncontained? What inner chaos might this stress unleash in me? My point is, it takes very little instability in the external environment for our inner stability to become overwhelmed. Faced with a threat to survival, while I'm pleased to find I did look after my husband, I lost my capacity to care for my future self when she depended on me to look after her. Without going in for too much self-analysis in public, I believe what added to my feeling psychologically uncontained in that situation was that an infant part of me felt abandoned. At that moment, I could not find in myself caring inner parents to help me contain my anxiety. Our most primitive fantasy is finding ourselves with non-caring parents who leave us to die. This terror, the terror this inspires, is contained by repeated experience with parents who do not let us die and do not abandon us. Our current reality is our political leaders show us through their actions that they abandon us and leave us to die and to suffer. To be this uncared for is to find our worst nightmare coming true. One kind of current leader offers us a form of pseudo-virtual containment, not real containment, with as-if solutions. Paul Hoggart has written about this. Not based in reality, they have the feel of a fraud bubble that must burst. This makes our caring reality-based part even more anxious deep down. Examples are, vote for me and I will address all the concerns of your caring part. The reality is, I make good speeches, but when with Wall Street or with political colleagues, I will put profit first. This may be for a whole range of reasons. The net result is you'll see me supporting the Paris climate deal and voting for new oil exploration. I am Obama, I am Hillary Clinton, I am Angela Merkel caving into the motor and energy industries and watering down agreed emissions targets. Then there is Trump. He offers another kind of pseudo-false containment, and I'll look at him later. Both the as-if and the Trump forms of pseudo-false containment are based on lies, and because they are, they're inherently unstable. How did it come to this? The global economy, a neoliberal hybrid of the American beauty rose, is unsustainable. It always was. It has already caused staggering damage to people and to planet. It has grossly overburdened both and already tipped both people and planet into instability. It is incompatible with continuing life on Earth. And people see this more clearly now, and they feel desperate, afraid, angry, and abandoned. Globalization of trade is not the problem. As Thomas Piketty recently pointed out, we need global trade. The problem is the ruthless mindset that drove globalization. This mindset treats people as there just to be used and exploited for profit. It sees people, present and future, as nobodies. And a nobody is a person who has no power to elicit sympathy and care. Christopher Hearing, a psychoanalyst, wrote a paper about the film Alien, and I think the paper gets to the heart of how people feel when dependent on leaders caught up in the ruthless mindset. He said, "The alien is a truly frightening monster. It does not know any concern or mercy. It is devoid of any scruples or conflicts. It is the absolute evil." The alien is a mindset that abandons people whenever people's interests conflict with profit, because profit always comes first. That is the unvarying rule, even when applying that rule means people will suffer and people will die. Trump speaks directly to people who feel abandoned by the alien mindset. Here is part of his speech when he won the Republican Party nomination for president. To the background of the music from Star Wars, he says, "Friends, delegates, and fellow Americans," I think echoing friends, Romans, and countrymen, presenting himself as a powerful Mark Antony Roman figure. "I have visited our laid-off factory workers and have visited the communities crushed by our horrible and unfair trade deals. These are the forgotten men and women of our country, and they are forgotten. But they're not going to be forgotten for long. These are the people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice. I am with you. I will fight for you. I will win for you. We don't want people compromised by terrorism in our country. We're going to build a wall and stop the gangs and the violence and the drugs from pouring in. I am the law and order candidate. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again." Now, Trump is speaking to people traumatized and terrorized by abandonment. This is the terror he refers to. He offers them not genuine containment and genuine repair, but pseudo-containment and pseudo-repair. Let's go into his method. He sets himself up as the strong man, impregnable to attack. He has already built himself an inner psychological wall. He invites a rapid pathological identification with, "I am strong, I am your voice." Now, the invitation is not that you can be like me, but that you can actually be me. Right now, in fantasy, and that way you will no longer feel pain and conflict. You are me and I am you. And jumping into this identification means internal conditions are instantly stable again, apparently. There is no global warming. There is no drought in California. All that is horrible and dangerous is kept outside, in the Mexicans, in the weak, corrupt Clinton woman. We, fused into one being, will keep them out and lock her up. I offer you an instant solution to your pain. Because you and I are now one, we can freely arrange to pass bits back and forth to the other. This is a most cynical exploitation of people who are traumatized and in shock in order to gain power. It is an example, I think, of Naomi Klein's shock doctrine at work. Klein argued that people are easier to exploit when stressed and shocked. In the days following his election, Trump has already revealed that he has no intention of providing stability based on care. He has surrounded himself with staff who are bigoted and willing to manipulate truth to serve power. Immediately after the election, shares jumped in pharmaceuticals, fossil fuel companies, armaments, and private prisons. Trump has achieved a shift to the radical right that will further abandon the American people and the people of the world. Stephen Bannon is crowing. Bannon has said what is needed is to actually be in power. And he now sits as the power in the wings. What's called the alt-right takes over, I suggest, because the rise in people's capacity to care and to face their feelings more honestly has threatened to make profits unstable. Financial stability is the only stability that counts to the alien mindset. It is essentially a paranoid mindset, keeping a beady eye on the threat that care poses, and beefing up its military and police capacity to deal with that threat, anything to protect profits. To give up on people who voted for Trump, to call them stupid or deplorable or despicable in these circumstances, I believe, is to be infected by Trump's uncare. Adam Phillips made, I thought, a profound point when he recently said that Trump leads his opponents as well as his followers to behave badly. Christopher Hearing, who wrote this paper on the alien, offers a reason as to why this might be. He argues that in the face of the alien, one may be driven to want to obliterate it by seeing it as entirely out there and nothing to do with us. The real struggle is to realize that the alien is also part of one's own psyche. When Irma Brenman-Pick said, "Good leaders give a home to our caring, reparative parts," she meant good leaders help us to sort out through hard psychic work what alien parts belong to us and what alien parts belong to others in the external world. And sorting this out is the ongoing work of repair, which brings with it the possibility of forgiveness, understanding, moving on, and also resistance. It mitigates destructive hatred and the blind wish to kill the alien as the only apparent solution. To achieve power and facilitate a move to the right, Trump manipulated our rising feeling of hatred. The alien mindset is evil, and hating this mindset is hate on the side of life. I think hate gets a bad press, actually. Good leaders help us to contain our lively hatred and channel it in constructive ways. They help us use our hate to repair things. But hatred is a volatile emotion, and bad leaders influence us to turn hate into destructive hatred. That's what Trump did, and so did the Brexiteers, in my view. Trump's victory did not come out of the blue. The ruthless mindset has progressively attacked structures that contain our uncare. They have unraveled the caring frameworks of the New Deal in the USA and the welfare state in the UK. They are currently hammering at and attacking the framework of care that remains in the EU. The ruthless mindset sees care as the enemy, the spoke in the wheel of the profit machine. People's care is the mindset's greatest impediment and obstacle. My current work is on the culture, the mindset funded to disable people's capacity to care. This culture has worked relentlessly to promote the idea that people no longer need to suffer the psychic pain and the moral discomfort that comes with being alive. And I think this is close to the apocalyptic idea. We can annihilate all inner pain. The culture has denigrated and delegitimized healthy awareness of our dependency on nature and on government that will protect us. It has promoted pathological identifications with glamorous, powerful celebrities as a shortcut to facing feelings of difference, social envy, and exclusion. Trump uses mechanisms already at work in the culture to smash containment and foster pseudo-containment. Good leaders know the truth of what Kevin Anderson said in late 2013. Change is now unavoidable. We face change if we get our emissions down, and we face change if we don't. Inaction on climate and on social justice has already led to political change for the worse. Good leaders now need to help us to face the changes that go with transitioning rapidly to a low-carbon economy and restoring greater social justice. They need to help us to resist the siren pull to seek pseudo-forms of containment to ease our pain. We desperately need the stability that good leaders can provide. It is based on truth, not the lies the market requires to maintain its profits.